Welcome, Sharpies, to this edition of Steel Sharp and Steel. I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
And I am Joy Stevens. Welcome. The unseriousness you see is just a general mood for the foreseeable future of yeah, like that's how we're going into everything. Yeah. And but I do want to recognize the ultra super Sharpie Anthony. Now this comment popped up for us when we logged on. He left his comment exactly an hour and 28 minutes ago. You will dedication. Never hear me, other people watching. You will never in your life beat Anthony Turner for being the first commenter on the show.
Not anymore.
Calvin wanted to come out next Wednesday.
Yeah, he done figured out the matrix of comment posting.
Yeah.
Bob was
early
here
for
early.
everything, Anthony? I'd like to know that. Are you generally on time for everything, Anthony? Or is it just this show?
Please answer that. I know he'll probably
I
type
really want to know the answer to
that. Good Money says he is on time in general.
I believe so. Because to be on time
I
is
definitely have to. Yeah. Have to think. Everything. Yeah. Let's see, he gave us a
Thank you.
Thing. So I guess this is gonna be an interesting episode because there's a lot going on. Obviously, the wildfires is still a thing, and Trump threatening to withhold support to California unless it's used as a cudgel to push California into compliance with what he wants is absolutely disgusting, but it shouldn't be a surprise. And while we are in the midst of wallowing through this circus tent, and Bob Breeden wanted to know why I was maligning clowns in that way, but it is a clown show of foolishness. But I think the thing that is on my mind the most right now is that we have a look at what the official Trump portrait for this presidency is going to be. And this is it.
Tales from the Crypt.
I mean, he's got a wonky eye. He's got low profile lighting.
You know why? This is a perfect picture for his followers because he looks, put it back up. He looks menacing. He looks intimidating. He looks about 20 pounds lighter because of the shadows around his jowls. They've managed to make him look more beige than orange. The pink under his eyes is coming off as bright as opposed to roomy. And this is probably the best he was going to look. And then I
actually thought it was the mugshot was superimposed in another background. That's what I really thought.
It looks very similar to the mugshot. It is not the mugshot.
Oh, okay.
But the pose is very similar. So I'm gonna put up a comparison, but it is not the same photo. But to Joy's point, it definitely is occupying that same thing. But when you look, I'm about to share the mugshot side-by-side comparison. He definitely looks ruddier, but the eye, the left-hand eye, which is a little less wonky in the mugshot, it's definitely, when you compare it to JD Vance.
Now I would say it's two different.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely two different pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that same energy. And somehow his mouth is even smaller in this new portrait. But as vain as he is, I am very surprised nobody photoshopped that right eye. That right eye looks a whole mess. That right eye looks like Paris Hilton after Botox.
And the stray away hair, I'm surprised he have a problem with that. You see that stray away hair on the right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can see his scalp.
He probably got some long hair. Yeah.
And this was done at the mall.
Yes, it looks like it was done at the mall. It looks. I mean, Olin Mills would have done better.
It's the lighting that really takes me. I mean,
you know what?
That's like Maleficent lighting.
I take that back. I do not want to malign the person who was forced to take that picture. Olin Mills, I said, would have done better because Olin Mills would have had the opportunity to give feedback to the subject and say, tilt your head like this. Can you fix your hair? You need to work on this. Whoever had to take a picture of this man had to just do what they were told, snap the picture, and get the hell out the White House before something happened, or wherever they are, because I know they're not at the White House just yet. But he didn't have a choice. He had to take that picture, and he probably did his best with, whatever energy he could hold on to out of the soul-sucking cavern that was whatever room they were in while he was in there with him. I really don't like this man at all.
No, intensely. And in contrast to Trump and what Trump is putting out into the universe as the I don't know, a supervillain from a Transformers franchise. Like I don't know what it is that he's trying to give, but this is JD Vance. Right?
Now this is demonic.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Exactly
That's a whole lot like the Omen 3.
When did Omen 3 come out?
Oh, years and years and years. And that's Sam Neill before Sam Neill was in Jurassic Park.
And how old is JD Vance? Is my point.
He's early 40s. Maybe late 30s.
JD Vance is Damien. That's what the D stands for.
Yeah.
Just Damien.
Just Damien.
Did I do that? Damien. Throw some nun out the window, bark at a dog, or whatever they be doing.
Yeah, it's all for you, Damien. So this is who we're dealing with, and let's just run it. Let's just run it down, basically, because can you imagine? You've got a black 4-star general as the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, 40-year career in the military, blah, blah, blah. Can you imagine if Joe Biden had nominated, let's just say, Don Lemon, keeping it to another talk show host on a progressive network. If he had nominated Don Lemon as Secretary of Defense, meanwhile, you've got Pete Hegseth, who, among the things he has in common with Trump, is that he's a sexual assaulter, a serial cheater, who was serially impregnating women other than his wife while his wife was at home with the previous baby. So he's very much aligned with Trump on those things. Very much aligned. But also an alcoholic, which Trump has never been accused of being. Also sexually assaulting or sexually compromising persons on his staff, whereas Trump kept it all personal.
Never would he see and raise him in horribleness.
No. But this guy knew enough to not lie on his Senate floor. So when Kane was asking him about all those questions about have you done this? Have you been accused of this? Did you do this? He
anonymous slander.
Anonymous smear.
Yeah, anonymous smear.
Anonymous smear is not.
You didn't say no.
Can you please direct the witness to answer the question?
He didn't answer a single question.
He didn't answer the question. He just kept saying anonymous smear, which is a non-answer, because if he had lied, if he had said false, which is what Tim Kaine was asking for, true or false, if he had said false and a single person came forward, now you're lying to Congress.
Yep.
So he just kept saying anonymous smear. And, you know, Joni Ernst sold her soul after he said that there should be no women ever, never, no, not never, never
in
serving in armed combat. And Joni Ernst and Tammy Duckworth gave him what for too, since she gave her legs to this damn country. But I'm sure he doesn't think her sacrifice is noble. I'm sure he thinks her sacrifice is because
she
was
could have been home having babies, you know, by him, since he likes to impregnate everybody.
So Pete Hegseth is, to me, perhaps the most despicable and worthless and wholly unqualified, manifestly unqualified, as I heard somebody describe him, candidate in the most serious position. Do I care that the WWE executive is on point to head the Department of Education? I don't know that she could be worse than Betsy DeVos. But this is the Department of Defense. This is the largest bureaucracy in our government. The most money, the biggest part of the budget, everything, the largest single pot of money in the country. And it's trillions. And this guy doesn't have sufficient experience even managing a platoon.
Right.
He's only managed a staff of 200 people at the most, it was reported. 200 people.
So,
and he was taking half of them to the strip
club. Yeah, it's a mess.
It's a whole mess. And that's before you get to clown number 2, as far as I'm concerned, clown number 2, Pam Bondi, with her dissembling self. I won't say lying ass. I'll say dissembling self. And here, accepting checks, handwritten, hand-signed checks from Trump. And miraculously, she drops her consideration of whether or not Trump University should be sued by the state of Florida. And then the state of Florida doesn't sign on to the other states who had signed on to the suit about Trump University, which is since been
no repercussions for not answering questions. Is that when you don't answer a question, there's no repercussions for it. It's just in the record that you never answered the question or you were evasive at best. Is that the standard? Is that what I'm getting?
There's no immediate repercussions. Like you can ask and answer, you can answer anything that they ask, and then it should be weighted and counted in the deliberations when they decide on whether or not you get this role. But we're not seeing them. They're not, if they don't challenge him in the moment, like, no, you didn't answer the question, there's no further follow-up of you still didn't answer the question. If they allow him to move on, they just move on. And what you're supposed to do is move on because you know he's lying or whatever your position is, and then discuss that in committee and say, no, not this one. And we don't know that the Republicans are not going to fuck us over just because he was nominated by Trump and put him in that position. I don't know if they had a backup, I feel like they would have put it forward already. And so I don't know what's going to happen with his confirmation. Because the confirmation process has never truly been challenged. Like even very rarely does somebody not get confirmed, except for Merrick Garland.
Oh, no, people don't get confirmed all the time when the opposing party has the control.
But the opposing party doesn't have the control.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So when we have a situation where they don't, then yes. I mean, and as tight as it is.
My bad. That's what I was thinking in my head, is that is because he's part of the party that's in control. Very rarely do you see somebody not get confirmed when they have control. Yeah. That's what I meant to say. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, we knew what you was talking about. So we're in this impasse. The thing I think that is most galling about the Republican position, because there's 2 planks that they're standing on. One is the president won, and he won decisively, which it wasn't even that decisively. It was decisively electorally, but it wasn't that decisive in terms of the popular vote, the real votes. So he won. And so we should just do what his thing is. But here's the problem. It's advise and counsel. That's your charge.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just rubber stamp anybody, especially when the person that you're rubber stamping is an idiot. If he were any other candidate who had not put forth these nominees, then I think, okay. But the first person you put up for the role that now Pam Bondi is auditioning for turned out to be so toxic that he had to withdraw himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the report about how toxic he was has finally been delivered to the American public. And so he had to skitter off into the shadows into One America News Network, which nobody ever watches. So that's who your starting person was. So you got to look, at least you got to questioningly look at everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, oh, well, he's a good picker.
Because
his first person flamed out.
Even he doesn't like the people he picks once they disagree with him. And everybody disagrees with him because he says crazy things. So it's just a matter of time.
Crazy things.
But Bob said that the backup for DOD was Senator Joni Ernst. But Trump is
no, because Joni made a stink about the first guy.
Mm.
She made a stink about Hegseth.
Well, so she probably should have. I mean, she can't be less qualified.
Oh no, Joni. Listen. I would say, not for the least of which reasons is that it would get another senator out, and I mean, again, it would be her appointment would, I think, come from the governor of Iowa. So I don't know that it would have helped us at all, or Indiana, wherever it is she's.
But you're also trying to say that she has some sense.
Oh, she has a lot more sense than Hegseth. She has a lot less baggage than Hegseth. First of all, I think she's only been married to one person, and she definitely hasn't had side babies on her man. So I mean, that's a start. And also, I don't think she's ever been accused of alcoholism. So bonus points for that. I mean, that's a low bar, but it's a bar she's reached.
Senator Duckworth asked Hegseth about...
you can't do that.
I'm sorry about that. She asked Hegseth about countries that were a member of ASEAN, I think it's ASEAN.
Yeah, ASEAN.
ASEAN. And to me, that's a basic question. I didn't know the members, but I feel like someone who's a candidate for such a job should know. And he didn't know. He chose China and Japan, I believe, just two Asian countries just out of the top of his head, because I guess he figured it would just pretty much cover the answer.
Well, first of all,
so it's little small elementary things like that should be very telling to even the trained mind that this man is not prepared for the job.
Well, let's be clear. I think he thought she was saying Asian. I don't think he thought she was saying ASEAN, which is ASEAN, which is the acronym that she was trying. I think he thought she was just saying because Tammy is of Asian descent. I think he thought she was just saying Asian. And so when he thought she was saying Asian, you go for the big ones. I mean, I guess
you not the big ones. Time to clarify.
You go for North Korea, I guess, but China and Japan, if you say Asian, most people, the thing that pops into their mind is China and Japan. She was talking about a completely different thing. And it's not small when you're trying to be Secretary of Defense. And that was her point. Because and she was the one who stabbed him in the face with those particulars, because the one guy was like, well, what kind of bullets goes into this gun? Well, it's these kind of bullets. Okay, you've loaded those guns. You're not loading any guns as Secretary of Defense. Do you understand that? You are going to have to engage in diplomacy. You are going to have to deal perhaps with NATO. You are going to have to deal with ASEAN. But you're not going to be dealing with magazines. You're just not. You're not going onto the battlefield.
And to your point about ASEAN, word association is real. And if I hear certain words, I associate it with the things that I'm used to seeing and hearing every day. So if you are around a military complex or you know more about the DOD, when you hear ASEAN, you should think ASEAN and not Asian. If you are in that community. The same way if I hear certain words, if I hear, I don't know, elephant, I'm immediately thinking that there's sorority sisters around because that's my frame of reference. Right. And his frame of reference had nothing to do with ASEAN because he probably hadn't heard it more than once in his life.
Yeah.
And just for the record, because I'm Googling it, a lot of of major countries: Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia. In addition to Brunei Darussalam, which is obviously much smaller, Cambodia, Singapore is in there, and what used to be Laos, which is now
basically everybody but China and Japan.
Yeah, pretty much, and South Korea. I mean,
and to me that was telling.
Of
that
course,
was very telling.
Because we don't know what
but he did get his chest and score points in his mind, I should say, when somehow he parlayed a question to his whole anti-woke policies within the military, because he's sort of like stating his whole claim on trans and people being able to have surgeries and what have you. He's like very against that. So when he find a way to seg that answer into that particular subject matter into an answer, which was mystifying as to how he did, he came alive. So that's pretty much I guess that's his selling point right there. And I thought that we were beyond that, but I guess they're still drumming. Well, no, because I feel like woke was the thing that sort of like died with DeSantis because, he couldn't get any traction with it. So when did this come back all of a sudden?
Oh, it's never.
Remember they said remember when they were saying that because he kept saying this is where woke goes to die, that he shouldn't have like really hammered that so much because he didn't really get as much traction during his campaign for the nomination because of that.
Yeah.
So I thought it all kind of died with him a little bit.
I think it died for him, but they still screaming woke all over liberal, all over the far right media. Yeah.
Okay.
Because woke and DEI and Joy shared something in our chat. They're all just proxies for what they really want to say.
I think I sent it to you, but the cartoon that I sent to Tom like over just text message earlier, it had in their mind N-word, what they say CRT, N-word woke, N-word DEI. Like it doesn't matter what we call it or what they call it. We know they call it urban. Remember when it was urban? Then it was inner city. Then it was underprivileged, underserved, and now it's just DEI.
But that's my point. They got away from that nomenclature and they started calling it DEI because woke became, I guess, a little bit too overused, abused, and so kind of like benign to it. And then it became DEI.
It's all a stream. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, but the problem is not the problem. The ease is that woke is a single syllable and DEI is three things. So you have to say three syllables, or you can just say woke. And so it's the same sheep.
Yeah.
It's just different color wool, I guess, because it is what it is. And so trans crosses more woke than DEI because DEI is more explicitly black, whereas woke can be anything that progressives like that we don't like. Whereas DEI is almost exclusively black.
And women.
Well, yeah, black and women, especially
and lesbian and gay.
Well, but again, I'm not talking about what it technically includes from a governmental standpoint. I'm talking about the permutation that it has become.
Like the fact that they tried to accuse the fire chief of there you go. The fact they tried to accuse the fire chief of being a DEI hire over the California fires when in fact she was the top of her class in every way and hyper qualified to have the job. As a matter of fact, she had to be hyper qualified because they don't give a job like that to anybody. You got to earn that. But they call it the minute, like when those Boeing jets that they crashed because they wasn't made out of bullshit, but they want to blame it on DEI pilots.
Yeah.
It's
I'll say it again, Boeing. If you want to get into it, meet me outside.
We have 4 days before the real clown show starts. We have 4 days. And we'll see. I am looking at you, Lisa Murkowski. I'm looking at you, Susan Collins. I'm looking at you. Well, I was looking at Joni Ernst, but now there is no Joni Ernst to look at. I'm looking at a single principled member of the Republican Party, perhaps somebody who served in the military, because we need 4 no votes. Because if we get 3, J.D. Vance breaks the tie. So we need 4 no's. And I don't know that Lisa Murkowski cares anymore about kissing the ring for Trump. I don't think that Susan Collins does. If both of them were just reelected, then they're going to be past the midterms and past Trump's, the end of Trump's term. And so I don't know if they have as much to lose. And maybe Susan Collins is kind of tired of being on the hamster wheel. But we need 4 principled Republicans to vote no. And that's what it comes down to. Manchin's gone, Sinema's gone. We don't have those, quote unquote blue dogs, whatever. Even Tester's gone. So we just need 4. And if we can find 4 who understand what is at stake in this country, then maybe we have a shot.
The gag with DEI to me, and I guess we can move on from this if you guys are tired of it, but I wanted to mention the very thing that they're accused of, because mind you, when DEI was quote unquote established, I feel like it was a big rouge to me, just a hack. I mean, I don't think it was really a serious thing. I feel like it was just a band-aid just to get people to make us shut up. But it's based on merit. That's what it is. It has to be based on merit. You can be black, but you have to have the qualifications. Nowadays, or just present day, I guess throughout the whole entire DEI campaign or whatever, it seems if it's a black person holding that particular position and somebody fumbles the ball, because that person was black is the reason why they fumbled the ball. Whereas, but if it was a white man in that position, fumbles the ball, it has nothing to do with him being a white man. So the whole merit part of this thing is pretty much out the window with this current slate of nominations, because there is nothing on Hegseth's pedigree that warrants such a position that he's trying to get. Nothing. So when you say it's based on merit, it's not. So if anybody's being accused of DEI right now, it's them, because the DEI is being a straight white man that's pretty much servitude to Trump. That's the qualification. That's the DEI qualification. If you don't have that, you're not going to be considered.
Well, it's a KKK.
To me, it's like everything they're accusing us of, they're doing now, but they're doing it to their advantage, and they're putting a white gaze.
Right. They're saying DEI is evil because it puts unqualified people into positions when there's a perfectly normal and perfectly good white man sitting right here. Yes. And what they're doing is saying, here's a perfectly good white man and his qualifications is white man. And that's the only qualification you need to do anything in the United States. And so this is okay because he's qualified. Look at him, right?
He's white.
Meanwhile, I'm coming with like six miles of degrees. And they're like, yeah, but you don't look qualified. And it's the look. You don't look qualified. It's the look. You look brown. You
and
look
the receipts are endless as to these positions that they're holding. The reason why we're in the situation that we're in this country is because of the policies white men in these positions are having. You know what I'm saying? Why did all these freaking insurance people the insurance agencies drop these people here in California? Mm-hmm. Black people weren't on the board making those decisions. There was nothing but white men doing that.
And it was white men where it wasn't going to affect them.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're so good at governing, make better decisions so we wouldn't be into these catastrophes that are cataclysmic right now.
I'm gonna stop you right there. You said if you're supposed to be such a good member of government, make better decisions. They're making excellent decisions for their own self-interest. Exactly. And they went into politics to have a voice in their own self-interest. For them, shitting on a bunch of like low like poverty line people and folks that need a supplemental income and people that need everybody at the VA, shitting on all of them makes them feel like I have more money they'll never spend, money that even their kids won't be able to spend, but they're going to do it anyway because their mentality is if I have it and you don't have it, it makes me better. Even
all of their policies are like that, Joy.
Yeah, all of their policies are like that.
Self-destruct. I mean, it's pretty much in the ruins. I mean, we have kids that can't go to school every day because they want to hold on to their guns. They're making those decisions. Mm-hmm. Our climate, I mean, the earth is on fire. because of their
decision.
decision.
Being on fire because it makes them money to set it on fire.
Exactly.
Right now. Mm-hmm. They don't care about kids with kids not being able to go to school because we make most of the guns in the world. And so and then we buy most of the guns. And when we can't buy them, we give them to other countries in exchange for other stuff. We are the problem. We are our own problem. And we'll never solve it because we make money off our own problem.
Bob is another comment. He's been on point on the Hegseth dirt. And it's exactly true. I mean, this is the challenge that I have with him in particular. You know, there's a lot of people. There's, you know, the CIA guy. He's already been. He was in the first administration of Trump, and so for a different position. And so, yeah, sure, fine. He's got the experience. As much as he hates Fox News now, he went for a Fox News host because he's a nominally good-looking white guy. That's it. That's literally who is willing to parrot his talking points. This is a guy who is talking about lethality versus legality and talking about having the most lethal blah, blah, blah. I thought Trump wasn't going to war.
Oh, yeah, he's going to war. That's why he needs him in there, because he wants to. But this is what I'm saying.
Why do you need, you're going to end our wars. It was day one of your inauguration. Ukraine was done. Now your guy is saying, well, 100 days to create a template and a path forward. And that's, to be honest, that's actually fine. That's a sensible thing to say. Once we get into office, it's going to take at least 3 months for us to get our hands around things and enter into the negotiations with the presidents of these countries and da-da-da-da. That's reasonable. But that's not what he sold. And so what I would like for us to do, starting on the 20th, I want us to mark down 3 indices: the price of eggs, the national price of eggs, the national price of a gallon of gas, and whether or not the Ukraine war is done. Because Israel and Palestine have entered into this ceasefire that's going to, close on Biden's watch. So Trump doesn't get credit for that. Eggs, which is the groceries thing, gas, which is the energy thing, and Ukraine. And we just need to have a countdown clock. And if eggs go up even a penny, then we're going to comment on it. If gas goes up even a penny, we're going to comment on it, because what you promised was lower prices for groceries as soon as I get in. And
guys, did y'all side-eye the headline yesterday when it's Biden's numbers is going out of office were like one of the lowest he's had throughout his whole entire presidency? Did that headline sort of give you a little bit of suspicion when you saw it?
No,
not particularly.
No, I'm inclined to believe it. I mean, with some margin of error, of course, but even still, it's pretty low. And I'm inclined to believe it because, remember, the party abandoned him. Like, he stepped down and he had a moment of glory where the country, the liberal side of the country, thanked him for making way. But ultimately, he does have lower approval ratings because a lot of younger Democrats were disaffected, and even though he's done so much for them, they don't see it. Similar to how, again, parents do a lot for these Gen Z kids and they just take it as their due and don't understand why they should be grateful. A lot of people see him as a problem, as old guard, outdated, all the other ages and words. And they do not recognize what he's done, or they think he hasn't done enough. And that's the entitlement that I see in the Democratic Party is, you haven't done this for me, you haven't done this for my special interests or whatever. What about the cows? All kind of shit. And because he hasn't done this one thing or that one thing, they thumbs down him because they only know either you're perfect or you're trash. There's no in between. And so his ratings are low because they don't understand compromise and timelines. Yeah.
And see, I was thinking that this is like one of those early sort of tellings as to the media already bending and capitulating to, the affairs of Trump. I thought it was the beginning of that, because I'm looking at all of the things that Biden is doing even now. I mean, even yesterday, he's going to try to do something to even extend TikTok. I mean, all the stuff is coming out now, things that he should have been working on a long time ago. And he has been working. They just are bad at messaging. But it just seems to me kind of odd that all these things that he's doing that are really trying to take the country forward and trying to, stave off some of the damage that we're going to endure these next 4 years, how come that wouldn't sort of change just a little bit of the minds a little bit and, you know, raise the numbers, maybe just a little bit of an increment, whereas it's that he's just really at his lowest. So I'm not sure if I believe it. I just feel like it's just more so the media already adhering to what the administration would like to see and read.
So let me pose a different question. Biden is about to not be president. And somebody calls you for a poll and says, we're conducting a poll about Biden's approval numbers. Do you even take that call? Because what is the point at this point? After November, I mean, really, after he stepped away from re-election, he essentially became a bit of a non-factor. Kamala Harris was front page news for 4 months. And when she lost, she had, you know, a week, and then he started to do stuff again. And he's made a couple of forceful speeches, but at the end of the day, the stink of losing is still the stink of losing. And there's no way to turn anything around. So why prop him up now? Why say, oh yeah, no, he's 100% now, when
I can ask the opposite of that question. Why drag him further down?
But I don't know if it's dragging him down because of the people
yes, it is. It's like, wait a minute. It makes him look even worse. Like he's going out like a total failure when he's not. I was offended by that headline.
But so don't be offended by the headline. Be offended by the people that answered the poll then, because they're not making the numbers up.
But that's my point. I don't think that I feel like it's just one of the something that the media just did. I don't think that's the general. Even amongst them, I just don't think that's the general feeling. I just don't.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We're not talking about this on that.
Okay. No, we're not. I was, but to your point, Joy, what I was saying is that I think the people who answered the polls are people who are keen on Trump. They're MAGA. So of course they're not going to praise Biden because they want to pump their guy up. So it's not so much a matter of Democrats or an even polling pool or whatever. They didn't ask 50% Democrats, 50% Republicans. The people that responded are the ones who are sourest on him because they're trying to make Trump look good when Trump begins to inevitably fail. So that's what I was trying to finish.
So to some extent, we're all right because I think we're all coming to the same conclusion from different directions, but it all comes down to the poll came out, the news people are going to report on it because that's what they do. And people that actually answered the poll were people that don't like him anyway, because people that could have given him a bump didn't bother to answer the poll because they're already disaffected, checked out. As much as I did during the run up to the election, I'm not answering the phone. And I would have given him a positive review, but I'm not answering the phone. And so all of this comes together in a spiral, right to what Jermaine is saying is that this doesn't make him look good. But it isn't something they're doing to pick on him. They do exit polls, if you will, on presidents every time there's a change of the guard. It just so happens that this time his numbers were just not good, lower than ever before. And it's because everything else we just said. Now, let's talk about one other thing I wanted to mention. I think I put it in here. No, I didn't. So anyway, what else did you have, Tom? Because I need to set up something really quick.
No, this is fine. I wanted to address, and this is a little bit lighter, but it does pertain to the inauguration. So I was scrolling through TikTok, as one does before it gets de-whatevered. It's still on my phone. And so I guess I'll be able to access the content until they stop connecting to the servers. But basically, there's a woman's march. It's called a People's March, but there's a woman's march planned for January 18th, 2025 in DC. And the video I saw was a sister who was like, I ain't marching for shit. I'm going to brunch on January 19th, and I'm going to go to brunch at a Black-owned restaurant. And so I am going to brunch. Yes, the 92% brunch date.
Yes, we're doing it all over the country.
It's the 19th, right?
Yeah,
or is it the 18th?
It's Saturday, isn't it?
18th. Yeah.
Oh, so it's Saturday. No, that's not such a great day for me. But I am going to support a Black-owned brunch spot and I'm gonna say it because if you're in Los Angeles, I want you to know grits with a Z, N, and waffles with a Z. Grits and waffles, and they have moved to a larger location, so maybe the line won't be so long. But that's where I'm going. If you're in LA, you could also go to Poppy and Rose, or you could go to Fixin's. There's a bunch of different places you could go. I'm going to Grits and Waffles because she's spectacular and the food is delicious. And I want to support her in her new venue because the old venue was like super small and cramped and the parking was a nightmare. So that's where I'm going. And I know that there are plenty of sisters who are like, yeah, no, maybe some of the 8%. And the thing that tickles me about this webpage is that they got the biggest picture on the homepage is of a Black woman.
They did that because once we started saying we weren't going, they went out of their way to make it look like we were going to be there. And I don't know who they thought they were fooling, because none of us is messing with that.
Well, and they got a video featuring a Black woman. The only video on the homepage is a video by a Black woman. And the thing that is really screwing with me is that they did the words backwards, because it's, we're not going backwards, we are marching forward. But because they just inverted the order of the letters and they didn't actually like do a mirror image of the sentence, the first thing you read on the picture of this sister is Erewa Ton Guignon Strabaha. And you're like, oh, I see what you did there. But the capital W screws everything up, because when it's completely flipped, you'd expect it to read from left to right, not read reverse. It's a mess. It's just it's a whole mess. And so I'm gonna be getting my brunch. I've been tending towards the savory because of the diabetes. So I probably won't get the waffle. I'll probably get some savory cheese grits with like a catfish fillet and maybe some crumbled bacon on the side. But if you're in LA, grits and waffles, Poppy and Rose, not Roscoe's, Roscoe's is no longer owned by a Black family, and they are trash. So not Roscoe's.
Right.
And then, the water wasn't working the last time we went, which was so freaking ratchet.
That's a mess. And the other thing that I love is a lot of this is either stemmed from or been fueled by our forever FLOTUS, Michelle Obama. Like the memes I hear about this, like the memes have been, if I send you this picture, just know that means I ain't coming. And that she's standing on business, and that, out of everyone, it's the Black woman is like, I'm not going to be fake. And I love this. Matter of fact, this is what I was trying to set up, but I didn't have my pictures ready. But I wanted to talk about how Black women are like, I told you once already, we're not coming. Like,
right.
What part of this image did you not understand when we said we was going to sit back and watch this shit burn? Like, Michelle is just off screen in this picture.
Yeah, you should have had understood it.
You should have had understood. I've been told you I'm not coming.
When she didn't go to the funeral,
you knew she was fucking done.
And George G Dub is like her favorite past FLOTUS. She always got a little piece of hard candy for Michelle.
Right? And I got some candy in my pocket for my baby girl. He was hurt.
And listen,
people are like, well, how come Obama's being this way? Obama has certain obligations, and he's not going to give them fuel for the fire, because they never play fair. To Jermaine's point, they never play apples to apples, because remember that Trump did not go to Biden's inauguration. And everybody's like, well, you can understand why he wouldn't go. They're making excuses for him. If anybody hadn't shown up to if any president hadn't shown up to Jimmy Carter's funeral, it was going to be a problem. And it was going to fuel the idea that they're just petty. And so he also is trying to be the bigger person, also a former president, and go to the inauguration. Michelle was like, it's wash day. Like, she ain't showing up.
I got brunch with the girlies.
Right, and she do.
And I kind of feel, because Kamala Harris had a moment in that funeral too. I understand Obama needing to be there, and I understand Obama to the extent that he needed to be cordial. I thought the chummy laughing was a lot for me, to be honest. I didn't enjoy seeing him sit there cracking jokes with Trump. It would have been fine if he had kept that taciturn kind of.
Tom, we are lockstep on this one. I had a lot of people who were trying my ear saying, Jermaine, he has to be the bigger man. He has to put, cordiality first, and you whoop do whoop and do. And all I could think about was the ultimate flex from Trump of a white man who was trying to deny President Obama his birthright and full citizenship when he first got on the scene. I went straight back to that immediately. No, I didn't even pass. I went straight back to that and clouded everything. So all that chummy pissed me off because I was like, how is this happening? Optics are just not right now. Not right now.
And he was the only one because nobody else want to sit next to his ass. So, and to that point, because I love pettiness, did you all see the picture that the Carter Foundation put out?
They clipped him right on out.
That photographer is a genius.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know how coordinated this attack was because they put him over there on that side of the pew. Right?
Oh yeah.
They had assigned seats for the most part. Like it wasn't because he got there early or some shit. They put him over there. Michelle messed up Barack's. She was supposed to be Barack's shield, and she was like, "Nah, bro, I can't do this."
You're not sitting me next to him.
I told you.
I done heard about his lack of bowel control, so I'm
right. I'm not sitting next to a pissy shit boy. So when they took the picture, it was easy to crop out. It wasn't like they had to crop the other side. With the rest of the audience, they put him on the side where only he and his wife, who didn't care, would be out. And I think that was genius, pure genius.
And he positioned himself. It was like, ooh, I can see him. Let me take half a step right, and then there was that pillar, and it was like, got it.
Yep.
Perfection.
Yeah, it was totally. Yeah, it's grab that whole thing because they're all waiting in the back, like they call it. I forget the name, what they call that room, but they all come out in time. It's like a little staging. They have it all choreographed, and absolutely. I'm pretty sure whoever choreographed it, I don't know if it's a bug in their ear or they just knew what to do. However, I want to give them a raise because I was delighted in all of the pettiness, just like you, Tom. I did not want to see him, and thus I did not see him. So the archives want him being there.
I think the guy who took the picture knew what the placement would be. Yeah. And I think there's probably a picture where like half of Trump's face is probably visible. But the picture he sent out, he chose specifically to make sure Trump wasn't in it. That's the genius. There are pictures, there's video of Trump, blah, blah, blah. There are other photographers who were there who had different angles that probably could have included him. The thing that brings me joy is that the Carter Center put out the photo, and the photo that the Carter Center put out clips his ass. That's just, and there was no way in that photo to see Trump because the pillar, the column, that alabaster tower of whiteness covered the towering alabaster.
Was Obama the only dignitary that even gave him any sort of conversation? Because people were snubbing him left and right.
Yeah.
Well, Pence shook his hand.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
His wife didn't know.
Pence's wife didn't even stand up. She was like,
Bush walked right by him.
Bush walked right by. I think Clinton shook his hand.
The Bidens didn't talk to nobody.
No. Well, they were like a row up because he's the sitting president, right?
But they were seated next to Kamala.
Right. So they were in the row.
They were on the same row as the vice president.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so they didn't
Kamala turned around and talked to people and was kikiing for a second with somebody. I want to say it was with Hillary. And then she turned and sat around. And then when Joe and them came out, Joe was like, huh, and just sat down. He didn't talk to nobody. He didn't even turn around and talk to his boy Barack. Like, he was just like, I don't see nobody. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, that was the feel.
I mean, I'm enjoying all of it. The fact that she didn't even extend a cordial invitation to show them around the vice quarters, I'm all for that. Because that made the news too.
Yeah, I don't have to do nothing, and I like it. And Vince has a something I also want to touch on. That's another reason why Trump wants the flags not to be half-mast, because he wants people to say, "Honor me, fuck that old guy who died." Like that's how he feels. And fucking Greg Abbott in Texas is going to raise the flags on the inauguration and disrespect the well-established mourning period for all presidents upon their death. For undoubtedly and inarguably a great president, and you're going to go ahead and raise the flags all the way up for a walking fecal bag of nonsense. Like, wow, this is what we're doing. And that's the thing. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to be doing for the foreseeable future. And I can empathize with poor Barack having to sit there and having to talk to him. And then after a while, it's hard to actively ignore somebody, and then if they say something funny, eventually you're just like, well, I guess I'm doing this. I'm talking to your stupid ass, so he's just talking to him because he doesn't really have any other choice for the most part. Because if he had given him the cold shoulder, it would have been such a barrage of negative articles and did you see this and the biggest scandals and we told you that the Democrats were petty and this is how black people do. Like it would have been a representative of all black people all over again. And so he decided to have us side-eye him rather than damage the image of black people across the country, because they would have absolutely tied it to every one of us. And so I understand why he talked to him, even though we were looking at him stupid. It was the right thing to do for us. It doesn't feel good though.
I will say this. I hear everything that you're saying. I don't think he needed to openly chuckle like that. To me,
that was the too much.
I think he could have turned and it was the laughing that got me,
because he couldn't have said anything that's fucking funny.
We've got maybe 13 seconds of him laughing and talking to him that they've cycled. They got nothing else. It wasn't like he sat there kikiing with him the whole time. That funeral was 3 hours long.
No, absolutely. I mean, once things got started, I'm sure it was more straight ahead.
Right.
I just, you know what? We can move on. It rubbed me the wrong way, and I definitely understand why people would feel a way about that. And I don't think any black person would have cared if he had completely shaded him, because if George W. Bush shaded him, right? And and so what? Fox News has never been a friend, and I don't know that anybody else would really have made a whole lot of hay out of it, because I don't think Trump wanted the narrative of Trump being snubbed by as many people as snubbed him. But I mean, I certainly concede that because Barack Obama's Barack Obama, they could have and might have.
They got him for a tan suit.
Correct. So it definitely could have happened.
And Bob, you got a point. We don't know what they were talking about. It was laughing with him or laughing at his stupid ass. Like it could have been something like, no, there's no Air Force 9. Like the fuck you talking about? Like we don't know what they were saying.
All I needed was one eye roll. All I needed was one turn back in the direction, like, and I would have and then if he did the ha ha ha, the whole Drake in blackface. I could have dealt with it. I just didn't see any signal from him and I would love to believe, Bob, thank you for bringing it up. I would love to believe that he was like, can you believe this silly MFer? And if that's the story he's telling, I will buy it from you, Barack Obama. I just know the optics didn't make my heart sing. I will just say that. So. Not finished with you, Shay.
He's reached his final piece. He's like unflappable. She's like, he ain't through with me yet, though.
No. It definitely couldn't have been me. No. Yeah, I agree, Sadida.
And now that his laughter also normalized what his laughter. Yeah. I'm not putting all of this on Barack. Like it's not that I'm like trying to be wear a cape for him or anything like that, but him giggling for a second does more to make him continue to appear like a regular person. The normalization in that moment wasn't a big deal. We're at a funeral and people tend to talk, hey, you know, what's going on? And, you know, that was one moment in his life where Trump wasn't being a complete jerk. And so he talked to him, but that doesn't make him normal. And it takes a whole lot more than that. Like just the same way people were trying to blame Jimmy Fallon for his first election because Jimmy asked him, he came on Jimmy Fallon's show and Jimmy like touched his hair to see if it was real or a toupee. And he's like, oh, wow, it's real. And people like, oh, because they laughed at that, that made everybody vote for him the next day. No, they were going to vote for him anyway. Jimmy had nothing to do with it. But I still stand on just knowing white people the way I know them in general, not everyone individually. But if he had done, because, you know, and even me doing that little disclaimer is how coded I am to make sure white people can't ever say that I said or did something wrong. And so I empathize with Barack sitting there. And sometimes you forget how much of a colossal asshole this is. And they say something funny. And it's funny, you know, but you forget the cameras rolling. But also you got to make sure that you don't do anything that allows them to continue to point fingers at you, your family, your wife's mother, all everybody else. People, and I know this, everybody else, living and dead, is a problem if you don't act a certain way. And he had all that weight on him. And he didn't have Michelle to buffer with him because everybody else was talking to their spouse. And clearly he may have been laughing at the fact that Trump leaned over and said, yeah, my wife's not talking to me either. I mean, that would have made me laugh, you know? So I'm going to
It just made me chuckle internally when you said that. Mm-hmm. But moving attention off Barack and Michelle and moving attention onto Michelle's biggest stan, Melania. How many days after the inauguration does she take her first trip to New York, and how long does she stay?
I don't remember. I don't have
no. I'm saying after this inauguration.
Oh, okay.
She stayed in the White House because Barron was with her in the White House in the first administration. In this second administration, Barron is up in New York at school. And she has said, because the question has been explicitly asked, they have said, you know, where will you be spending most of your time? And she says, I'll be at the White House, but when I need to be in New York, I'll be in New York. And when I need to be in Palm Springs, I'll be in Palm Springs. So the question is, just as she hasn't been spending most of her time with her husband at Mar-a-Lago, January 21st, how many days do we think it's before she has her first trip? And is that trip, I won't ask for a length, is that trip less than 2 weeks?
I think she's leaving at the final inauguration ball, if you ask me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was going to be exactly what I said. She's leaving.
She's going to change on the jet flight back to New York out of her gown.
So she got her Uggs and her Lululemons in a bag, ready to go.
She will be changing on the flight back. She's done.
So, and do you think because there's going to be a lot of attention on the confirmation fights that, ooh,
Chan, you read my mind.
You are the devil.
I have not forgot about them pictures of her looking at Justin like she would risk it all for him. And he ain't doing nothing right now but sitting around being fine. Yeah, she might overshoot New York and find herself in Quebec by accident, getting her Quebec blown out.
Quebec blown is diabolical.
Quebec.
Now, see, Joy, you know that portmanteau should have been mine, but that's okay. I'm gonna make you have it because it's fucking hilarious. So, is it a month then? Because the confirmation fight's gonna...
No.
Since he gets directly after inauguration, I'm gonna say 3 days just because she need to pack. That's it.
Okay, so she's gonna be gone for a second. It's the beginning of the semester for Barron. And so, yep, that's what it is. That's what I see. And I think by the time the first state dinner has happened, she'll certainly be back. She won't not be there. So Benjamin Netanyahu is coming. So she would definitely be in the house for that. Mm-hmm. So the next question is, Trump has officially been sentenced.
She put the ass in the ambassador.
My God. Trump has been officially sentenced as a felon. and he was not able to get SCOTUS didn't stop it. New York Supreme. So when SCOTUS didn't stop it, it was done. So now that he has been sentenced, there is the possibility of an appeal. But as of right now, he is a convicted felon. A lot of our allies do not allow convicted felons to come into their countries. And so there is a bit of finagling that may end up happening, although he was already found guilty by a jury well before he became the president-elect. But now he's been sentenced, and they said they weren't going to sentence him before, but now he is sentenced. And so some countries may relax that prohibition because he has, diplomatic immunity or something like that. But some countries, I think, are going to delight in refusing to let him in, especially the way he's been acting. Greenland certainly ain't going to let his ass in. Denmark is a check. Panama, certainly not. So
he's going to get none but Zoom links.
Listen, and which is fine because, quite frankly, save us some money. And he doesn't get to refuel his planes at his golf resorts and all that other foolishness that he was doing to pad his pockets on the government dime. Yet that's going to be an interesting thing. And, hopefully, I guess the G8 and some of these other things are going to take place in, somewhat neutral territories that don't have that sort of prohibition. Or maybe you might even find some smaller countries trying to curry favor with him, change the policy or write an exemption specifically for him so that
I doubt it.
I doubt it too. And I want it not to happen. I'm just saying, just as there are states that are going to raise the flag, just as there are senators who are willing to rubber stamp foolishness and chicanery, I'm sure Turkmenistan doesn't have any problem hosting him.
Well, that's the thing is, like, internally, he's the most powerful person in the country. And he holds grudges and he's a petty child. And so, yeah, you have to kind of stay on his good side and kind of let the baby do what the baby want to do. Let him eat off your plate because we ain't trying to have all these problems. But once you set foot outside the country, every country is sovereign. And yes, we are a huge military and economic power in the world, but people do have options and alternatives. And if everybody else in the world decides to ostracize the United States, we become poverty-stricken, well, even more poverty-stricken than we are now, overnight. The bigwigs are still going to make money because they are immune from the economy. But everybody that depends on a paycheck and insurance, everything else, is going to suffer because we have no allies. The people that he calls friend are not allies to the United States. And the people that are allies to the United States fucking hate him. And so it puts us in a position where even our closest allies are side-eyeing us like, I don't know who all gonna be there. Like, they're not coming. They're not going to help us. Mexico's already given us the finger. Canada is side-eyeing us like, hey there, guy. Don't know about you. And overseas, Europe is like, we don't know them. And so and then to put up somebody like Hegseth for DOD announces to the world, we are going to have our eyes shut.
Yeah.
We're going to be so caught up in our own naval lint, we will not notice when you bomb the shit out of California or something else. Matter of fact, I think North Korea has bombs that can reach as far in as like Wyoming, I believe. So good luck to y'all.
Listen, the NATO ambassador knows nothing about NATO. He is threatening our NATO ally in Denmark over Greenland.
Yeah.
Make really America great again is really.
He's talking the stupid Gulf of America bullshit.
Oh, the Gulf of America BS. Make America great again is going to be make China a bigger superpower.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because everything he's threatening, because he's not even going to be able to do this external revenue service that he tweeted about.
God, yeah.
In a fever dream to collect those tariffs. The Internal Revenue Service already collects taxes and duties and stuff from foreign countries that have to pay them to us. So, people who have to pay taxes to do business in America that are foreign held entities, they already are collected that through the Internal Revenue Service. Again, tariffs are not collected by the government.
their focus and has always been, and I guess no one has really put it in this particular fashion, but
I should have said
they're
paid. I'm sorry.
laser focused
Paid.
on returning this country to the glory days of the 50s and 60s. All of the things that they're wanting to do under Project 2025, the people that they're nominating and putting in these key positions, they're trying to reestablish that time in history in this country. So with that in mind, a lot of our foreign obligations, our foreign relations, they're on the back burner, it seems. So our safety is going to suffer because we have no intelligence that are looking out for our safety as a result of us, trying to take this country back to a more disciplined time to where they're at the top and we are just here to pretty much serve their needs. That's what's pretty much been established, because you don't hear anything about foreign policy in Project 2025. You don't. All in-house. And it's all geared towards suppression.
Yeah, subservience of everyone that's not a straight white man.
Exactly. So that's, where their focus is ultimately going to just pretty much decrease standing worldwide. And whatever we're going to be subject to is going to be at their own doing.
Yeah.
And you have to know that the right, those that are high-ranking members, the McConnells and the Thunes and all the likes, they have to know something is coming as a result of this happening. But I guess they're old enough to where they're just going to, pretty much excuse themselves and just let the fallout happen.
They got nothing to lose. They have everything to gain and nothing to lose. They're not going to live long enough to see the outcome of these decisions in 20 years. They're going to be dead, and they don't care. Even if they don't care about their own kids, if they have grandchildren, they don't care about making this a better world for their grandchildren. Fuck them kids. They don't care. They just want to know how much money can I be buried with. Whoever dies with the most toys wins. And so they will watch the world burn as long as they're on top of the ashes. That's all they want. It's ridiculous. It's short-lived. It ultimately ends in everyone suffering, including them. They just don't believe that it'll ever reach them. Which is why
there's always something.
Big deal. What'd you say?
There's always something in everyone's administration that pretty much the metal of the administration, just to see how strong and how, stoic and how bulletproof, if you will, they are. Something always happens. With Trump, it was the pandemic. With, I think, the first administration with Obama, I feel like it was the recession. But there's always something huge that happens within an administration that pretty much tests the metal of where we are security-wise. And I feel like because of how we're going into this administration, the first thing that's going to come at us is probably going to knock us all down like dominoes.
Yeah.
Not going to we'll know how to recover, but we won't have the people in place to get us to recover, because they'll just, they're dummies. They don't have any freaking knowledge. There's no pedigree to prep them for those moments. So that's what I worry about. All the intelligence that comes with having these positions, it's not there anymore. So we're all going to be like, figuring it out for ourselves, fighting each other. And it's going to be chaos, because at the top is chaos.
Yeah.
It's my 2 cents. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is not a joke. Yes. We're getting there pretty quick.
Yeah. It's going to happen. It won't be long. It'll be something huge. And we're all going to, I don't know. I guess the fires were a precursor.
We're already seeing bird flu issues. It's another rumors of other diseases that are not named coming out of China once again. Kakistocracy is also, yes.
Had the fires happen in 4 days, God knows where we would be with recovery. Because we're getting firefighters. Mexico, you know what I'm saying? Mexico, they're sending firefighters to help us.
Right.
You think they would have done that under the Trump administration? No.
Yeah, I speaking, and I know that you've been staying on top of this as well, Jermaine. I am happy to report that 2 of the fires, the closest fires to me, are 100% contained. So we had a first fire, which was up north by the 118, which is about 15, 17 minutes away from me. And then we had the Kenneth fire, which was actually only about 12 minutes away from me. The Eaton fire, which is the Altadena fire, That is at 55% containment, which is much better than it was even on Saturday.
Good.
On Saturday, it was only at 13%. And I believe that there are fewer homes in danger now than there were before.
Yeah.
And even though the Palisades fire still is in a lot of acreage, I think the majority of the acreage that is currently burning is now not inhabited. So it's a little bit better. I know over the hill where we had been seeing the smoke, which was, I mean, during the worst of it, there was a lot of black smoke. We didn't even see smoke yesterday from the Palisades fire, which is the fire that we can see in the distance. And I didn't notice it today. So that's better than it could have been. And we did not get the whipping winds that we thought might have accelerated things. A blessing. So the only thing we need now is a nice torrential downpour. So Aurora Monroe, if you can hear me, fly in and put some rain on it, baby.
Right. Live up to your name, Storm.
Yeah, Thor Odin's son, bring Mjolnir or Stormbreaker down here and break some storms up to put this all out so that we can get moving. Also, some information that some people out of California might not know. Con Edison is being sued for starting the Eaton fire.
Eaton fire, yeah. They had power lines going.
What happened?
So Edison has not had a great power utility services in California have a very checkered past. So everybody remembers Aaron Brockovich and PG&E and all that stuff. So a while ago in Ventura, Edison, I don't know if you remember this, Joy, there was a house basically that blew up. And that was because of a spark from Edison and gas and whatever. And so the spark and the gas and the whatever. So since then, Edison has been real tight. And whenever there's like a situation where a natural disaster, is occurring, they have been a lot more quick to respond and just turning off the power. And so when the fire was raging in Palisades, the piece of the country that's the piece of the county that's a little bit north of us up the coast on the 101, like Fillmore, they just shut them down. And I got a frat brother who lives by where the Hearst fire was, and that's at the 118. They just shut his power down. This is the second week. So he had to move into a hotel where he could have power. So apparently what they have found out is that the Eaton fire, and the Eaton fire is important because that's the Altadena fire, and all of the generational wealth of those Black families who've been redlined out of other parts of the city and were able to move into Altadena and buy a house for $55,000. And those houses are worth $1 million now. All of that is done because a lot of policies were canceled. But if Edison is found to be at fault, they can get the money from Edison. Because they weren't going to get it from the insurance companies, although I'm sure there are some insurance companies who are being sued. But Edison is going to be a lot. Well, they've got deep pockets. But the point is that all hope is not lost. There are plenty of services you can Google. There's GoFundMes for different Black families. There's all different ways that you can support. I will say, having been out there helping out with the recovery, the generosity of Angelenos has been phenomenal.
Yep.
And folks, I think, did not expect. We live in a city of excess, so there's lots of stuff that people have. Watch your hands, Jermaine. There's lots of stuff that people have, and they opened their closets and opened their pantries and went to stores and bought all the damn water and bought. I mean, it had to be tens of thousands of diapers. It was just amazing, and these families were able to walk away with enough diapers to serve their newborns for a month. And so while they're trying to get on their feet, it's really been inspiring to see how our community has come together. And now that some of the lies about Mayor Karen Bass being pushed back against, and even though Trump is repeating them very loudly, we're in a place now that the fires are a little less present in terms of danger to existing structures. We're kind of moving into the, what does the future look like phase of the tragedy. And so it is heartening. to see the community really coming together in this way. And so I just want to thank all of the folks. I have one of my Rattler friends who's sending some supplies from Tallahassee just to help families. And so I want to thank everybody who has called or texted or sent me messages on Facebook asking, because both Jermaine and I were closer than I think either of us would have liked to have been from the fire. Although I was never really, I don't consider that I was ever really in danger. And certainly there are hundreds of thousands of people who have suffered much more acutely than
the two drop-off centers that I've been in contact with. I dropped off some that Friday, and then I tried to drop off again Monday. They are stressing they need more manpower and money and no more supplies because they're at capacity right now. They don't have anywhere to put all this extra stuff.
Exactly.
So if you can just volunteer, because there's a lot of stuff to sort out. You know, they got to like put where the kids' clothes go, these sizes, all this. They just need manpower and they need money. So if there's anyone in the LA area who can just donate time or possibly, send a little money, that would be greatly appreciated at the drop-off centers, because they just don't have anywhere else. They'll need the supplies a little bit later on, but right now they just don't have anywhere to put everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I will say that there are plenty of hotels and Airbnbs and resorts and stuff that are offering free accommodation for both firefighters and those who have been displaced. So it's not all horrible corporate shenanigans. There are,
although there is a little gouging going on, that narrative.
Oh no, there's definitely, well, more so in the rental market. There was that one real estate agent who got dragged.
Hell yeah.
For what she was
for price gouging.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because
I mean,
people,
I don't know what the percentage was, but it was in the heavens.
It was like 300-some%, wasn't it?
No, it was astronomical. And the crazy part is that a lot of those people in the Palisades, certainly the celebrities, they can pay it. It's the folks who are not multimillionaires. Right. Nobody's worried about where Paris Hilton is staying. Paris is good. Mel Gibson is good. James Woods is, well, maybe not James Woods. And James Woods isn't good. He's a horrible person nominally. But nobody's worried about them, Jennifer Garner and all of those. It's the people, it's the Altadena folks.
Yeah.
Like I have a frat brother. I got two frat brothers actually, whose houses were completely razed. And so it's those folks. And people have family and some people, families taking families in and stuff like that. And that's great. But it's going to get old real fast.
Yeah.
Right. And this is another example of the racism that exists in insurance and real estate and everything else, because, you've got people who, from a privileged point of view, somewhere in a place that never floods like Florida or never burns like Florida, saying, well, they should just have fire insurance. Why didn't they have fire insurance? And then they cancel the policy. Well, this is why they can't have generational wealth, because they don't take out insurance on their property. Yes, they did. They canceled the policies because they knew these fires were coming. And so you cannot fault somebody when they did everything right and have the rug pulled out from under them. But like with sorry, I can't help you, even though you've been paying into this policy for 25 years. So people losing everything. Say what?
There was a woman, the granddaughter of a Black woman who has been living in her house in Altadena 75 years. And they canceled her policy. 75 years of premiums, and they canceled her policy. That's trash.
Yeah.
That's a lawsuit.
But the thing about all these insurance companies, they got money for days. They can let you go to trial and obfuscate the proceedings long enough for you to run out of money to fight. Or where your lawyer just decides it ain't worth it, forget it, settle for, $20,000, whatever other nonsense they try to give you.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a class action. So hopefully with the right law firm behind it, willing to put the resources, especially if you get a law firm who's doing Edison, and they can partner up with somebody who's going to attack State Farm, because that's the only hope that there is, honestly, because this is trash. And it's all about their profit. It's not even about, actually doing what your insurance is supposed to do, which is supposed to help make you whole. And the other thing I found out is that there's because of there's been an instruction, I guess, given that the tax base valuation is no longer about the home and everything else. It's about the base value of the property. So if you're paying on your mortgage and you have taxes taken out and put into escrow, you're on a tax-free holiday right now. So people are being advised to call their mortgage companies and rearrange the structure so that they're not paying that additional $500 or whatever a month into the escrow account for the tax, because they're not going to owe that tax. And so that can save you thousands of dollars. I mean, even just that $500 difference is a lot for you not to have to pay. And then, you know, when the house is gone, the house is gone. And probably, I would imagine some mortgage lenders are going to get into the insurance fight, because that's their investment that these people were paying insurance for. It wasn't for the families, unless your home was paid off. It was really for the lenders, to make sure the lenders had a way to recover. So you get those banks involved in a class action lawsuit with the actual homeowners, then that changes the calculus a lot. So fingers crossed. Let's see what happens.
But the resilient spirit is stronger. They are determined to rebuild. That is pretty much the mantra you hear the moment you walk into those spaces. They are determined to rebuild, no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes. And I was just glad to see that, because it's very easy to be hopeless and in despair during moments like this, when your whole life is just pretty much in ashes. I'm a very loose friend of hers, the artist Lettucey. We kind of like know each other in passing. She lost her home in Altadena.
Damn.
But on stage that night, because she understood that, you know, she has to keep going in order to survive. So we're going to be fine. And there is a working class neighborhood in Palisades too, guys. It's not all rich people. I try to tell folks.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not all multi-millionaires. A lot of the homes were, you know, what we would consider middle class or regular people. Who
Amanda Gorman lives in the Palisades, you know.
Yeah. So there's lots of people who got in decades ago, and people who, you know, just took that house that they grew up in and then moved into it when their parents passed or whatever, or grandparents, whatever. So it's not all wealthy people, but there are plenty of wealthy people, and the Palisades is a nice place to live. It was very nice. And the interesting thing is, one of the Palisades, there's an open air Palisades mall, and I saw a guy doing a report, and he said the reason they were able to survive is that they hired tankers, 3,000-gallon tankers, private tankers, to bring water in and spray over their buildings with flame retardant and just water. And so those businesses, I don't know who's going to be shopping there, but those businesses were saved from the fire because they paid. They said, it's gonna, however much it costs to spray this water is going to be cheaper than trying to build from scratch. And so they were able to make that investment. I don't know if all the little businesses pulled their little pennies together and said, hey, we got to do this, or hey, it's coming, we got to get it together. But they survived when everything around them burnt to the ground. So people, you know, stuff can do.
You know, it's just sad that, you know, instead of saying you can't help somebody once something has been destroyed, lending a hand to save it, there's stuff that insurance companies could have done with that. How come the insurance companies couldn't have, you know, pitched in to help bring more flame retardant things, or offer flame retardant, I don't know, buckets. I'm trying to think of whatever it could have been, like in advance of this. The same way, you know, my health insurance will try to convince me to go to a nutritionist, or they give me a discount to the gym or something. Where's the preventative work for natural disasters? You know?
Well, and let's be absolutely clear. It's wildfire for a reason. This thing happened and it was off to the races. It's not like we were sitting on some burning embers from a campfire that people knew about and they were watching it spread. When it hit the Palisades fire, it was like within hours, it was everywhere. And so, and the winds were so bad, and that was the confluence of factors this time that made it super, super challenging, because normally they would have been able to bring the tankers in and fly the helicopters in and get the helicopters exactly where they need to be. But the winds were so strong, they couldn't
Right.
They couldn't bring those people to drop in the mud. They couldn't bring those planes in to drop in the seawater because the winds were so bad. Mm-hmm. And so it was the worst case scenario, a nightmare scenario. And again, I'll be out there again this weekend. I guess after brunch, because I thought I was going to be doing it on Saturday. I gotta go to Grits and Waffles on Saturday, and then go do some more volunteering this weekend. And on Martin Luther King Day, since I'm not recognizing the inauguration, I'm going to be doing service again. So again, thank you to everybody who has been making contributions to the California wildfires. It is perhaps now the costliest fire in the nation's history. And that's even after the fires from the earthquakes in the more recent San Francisco debacle, not 1906, but the one that was in the early 90s or 80s, late 80s, early 90s, where my cousins who lived up there had some trouble. So thanks everybody for that. What else you got, Joy and J&J? What else you got for today's show?
Well, it's interesting because while y'all are dealing with fires, as last week y'all were dealing with fires, and I was bundled up in the snow. It continues to be like strangely, weirdly cold. Like there might be snow in Florida soon. And stupid people don't recognize it. When we say climate change, it's hotter and colder at the same time. Like, how is it global warming when it's snowing in Atlanta? Because it's global climate change, not necessarily just warm. But something happened here in Atlanta, and I told y'all before that I was going to start my little weekly session of fools used to follow, right? So
not the clown. Come on, Motif.
So there's a guy that I follow, and his name is Drinkable Brian. Now, Brian is this little, like, hipster looking little white guy who tends to have like a breathing strip across his nose because he said it helps him breathe, helps his sciatica, whatever it might be. He's married
it's not just a look. Okay, so it's a function.
He explained it with one of his.
Okay,
it's an actual, like, it opens up his sinuses or some such, but it helps him, and he's not ashamed to wear it because he's worried about his own health and not about how y'all feel about it.
That's right.
He said that too. But and of course he got that audacity from the Black woman that he is involved with. I'm not sure if they're married or not, but she is his whole life. So what?
I said something.
Yeah. And what I wanted to show y'all is, first off, this fool. So I'm actually pulling up his whole Instagram because this is one of the videos that he posted recently, and he got so much flack about it that it just showed. Like, I'm gonna show you the comments, and you can see how he gets down. But check this out.
Oh,
hang on. What do you?
Sorry. There you go. Do it now.
Hang on. There it is. Play.
Equal rights and laughs. I will say maybe body slamming a 97-year-old woman onto the pavement in the cold is not the move, though. I bet you she won't hop out of a speeding car again, though, and pull up to the person and say, my husband's in there, and then hit someone first. I'm just going to put that out there. She probably won't do that twice. I will say this is a great example of white women being at the top of a food chain and thinking there's absolutely no consequences to their actions and then putting their hands on a stranger first. No natural predators. Wrong, dude. Actions have consequences. This was a terrible, terrible example of that. Sometimes they're really severe. You know who didn't get Mortal Kombated through the cold pavement? The person who stayed in their car. Say it with me. Skin color and gender don't protect you from consequences of your own actions. Here's the full clip. Just...
Let's go! Get out the car! You want to run your hands? Get out! Get out! Get out! I didn't touch your car. You were on my gun. Come and touch me because my man's right there. Come and put your hands on me. I ain't driving crazy. It was on my goddamn ass. I went to the other lane. Get out of my face.
Ooh.
Wow!
Come on! Shabuya, roll call.
This brought me so much joy. Wait.
It was like already bad enough.
So that's the end of that one, but
rights and laughs. I will say maybe body slamming a 97-year-old woman onto the pavement in the cold is not.
She wasn't 97, was she?
She wasn't
I
97,
think that
but
was
she
an
looked
extra
old as hell.
dig.
Not with that much vim and vigor.
But he's also known for these.
Gen Z wants a revolution, but folds under eye contact. Changed my mind. I went to the movies tonight. You know how you normally sit in the back center? Well, there was somebody there. We'll call her Jennifer Z. I decided we're going to sit one row down and a couple seats over. So me and my girlfriend sit here. As we do, Jennifer Z decides to get up and move to the corner. So I'm like, cool. I start grabbing our stuff. I move to those seats. Jennifer Z goes, I was trying to make more space. Now, because I'm not a terrible human, I'm like, oh, were you having friends coming? So that would fill this row. It would make sense to me. She says, no, I was just trying to have more space. Why do you keep saying that? That wasn't the audacious part. From there, my girlfriend's in the bathroom. She says to me, I don't even know why you two would sit there. She's talking about sitting down one row and a couple seats over. Now, because I grew up with social skills, I looked at her and said, because we wanted to. My girlfriend comes back. I immediately am like, hey, I got to tell you some nonsense before these trailers start. I'm low and respectful, though, because there's other people in the theater now. There's like 3 total people. She gets up from her seat. Jennifer walks over in front of us with 2 out of the 3 blankets she brought in the theater and says, I didn't know you were going to sit there and I was just trying to make more space. I said, oh, okay. I know it's not your fault. You're all iPad kids. But put the vape and the tumblers down and develop some social skills. Lock eyes and lock in. I'm just trying to be disappointed in the movie Nosferatu. Don't go and see it. She said, I don't know why you would even sit there.
Okay, that one right there, that resonated with me deeply. I'm not kidding you. I cannot tell you how many times that I have been low-key shamed and even made to feel bad about just being a pleasant and nice person. And it makes me even hate that I even did it to begin with, but that's my default. I just do nice things because I'm just that person. And lo and behold, some young person would just take it as, I don't know, a threat or an invasion of their space, flip it, and I'm ending up wanting to fucking sock the shit out of them because it's ridiculous. And sometimes I take the time to school them.
Say what?
And sometimes I take the time to school them. I'm not kidding you. Wait, just on yesterday, I was at Whole Foods. And for some reason, you know, at Whole Foods, you get your Amazon Prime is connected to your account. That's how you get your discounts. And I could not seem to get my my scan code to work. It wouldn't do anything. So the guy comes over. He goes, well, you probably should check this Amazon Prime first. This little young kid, I'm not going to tell you the race he was, but he wasn't black. And I'm thinking, why is that your immediate response to something that looks like a faulty issue with your machine? So I said, let's just try it again and see what happens. Try it again. It worked. On the way out the door, I was like, this is a teachable moment. And I told him, I said, listen, you need to be a little bit less quick on the judgment before you start to fix a problem. Because from what I hear, the customer is always right. And in this case, I was. I don't expect an apology, but I will not be coming back in this Whole Foods. It made me so mad. It's like that's their default, to just to be either on the defense or just to just take it as if, you know, you're just doing something against their will. And I don't know if it's just, you know, the way they're being groomed and, you know, raised, because my nieces and nephews, they still have some healthy degree of social interaction. I noticed that when I was at home. You know, they're still on the phones, they're on their iPads, but they know how to address someone when they walk in the room. And maybe it's a Southern thing, but it can be done.
It can be done. And there's plenty of examples of well-mannered and socially adept young people, you know, teenagers, people in their 20s, 30s, etc. But there is a loud and growing faction of people who refuse. They've taken the idea of authenticity to the point of obnoxiousness. Like you can be unapologetic, but you can also be just an asshole.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm being unapologetically mean. No, you're being mean. There's a difference. You're being petty. You're being childish. You're holding a tantrum. You're being selfish. You're being willfully ignorant. All those things. That's not being authentic. That's being an ass. And if you don't know the difference, then you need therapy. Check yourself.
And also, as a codicil to that, if you're just being authentically you, don't be surprised when authentically Gen X me pulls that cat out of the bag.
Right. And then you get body slams in the snow.
Joy has said many times that Black women are 90% smoke. Gen X pulled another negative 50% of smoke from the smoke dimension. And when you call us and get that fury going, best believe it's going to be like Linda Hamilton holding on to the fence in Terminator 2. Your flesh, your bones will shatter into dust. You don't want it. And what I will say about Old Boy is that that's why I love AMC, because I know exactly where my seat is. And before I get into the theater, when I purchase my seats, I know if there's somebody next to me.
Yeah.
And if there were only 3 people in the whole theater, then girlfriend, you needed to keep them blankets folded on your lap and chill, because wasn't nobody asking you to do anything. And you didn't need to get up and come and make your whole thing. The last thing I will say, because I have a heart out, I got to take my son to a basketball game, is the full quote of the customer is always right ends with in matters of taste. It doesn't mean just because you're putting money on the table, you can do whatever the hell you want. It means a shop owner is never going to tell you you look fat in that dress, because you have chosen that dress and it's your taste, and I'm here to sell stuff to you. And so I'm going to let you take that out the thing. It is not a free license. And I'm not saying you did anything wrong, Jermaine. I'm just saying that a lot of people use that customer is always right. And I'm telling you, Karen, that's a good way to get backflipped, because that is not the whole context. You don't get to come in with your $1.50 in change that has gum on it from when you had to dig it out of your damn ashtray and tell me about myself. I don't get paid enough to deal with your foolishness. If you are buying your drink and you say that your drink doesn't have enough syrup, you get an extra pump of hazelnut, sugar-free. But it does not mean you are getting me fired or you can dictate the terms of my life. That's not what it means. The customer is always right in matters of taste.
Right. But everybody should be able to expect good customer service. Wherever you go.
And what you got was not good customer service.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I stand with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I stand with you, Jermaine, in saying that you're never going back into that store. I had something not similar, but in the same vein of racism.
And that's what it was.
Yeah, everywhere. In that, I just put a contract on a new condo because I told y'all I was moving. I got to get the hell out of here, away from these people. And I found the place that I wanted. I double checked 3 and 4 other places to make sure, nope, this is it. This is what I want. Let's go. We they had been on the market for like 80 days. So we're like, they got to be hungry. We lowballed them. And this white woman called my realtor back and said, I don't know if you recognize how the system works, but the list price was this. And my realtor was like, I know what the list price was. Our offer was the beginning of a negotiation. And I'm trying to understand the condescending giggle. And so this woman goes, well, I'm just saying that the price is what it is and there is no negotiation. She goes, okay, that's fine. Can you put that in writing as a counter offer? Because that's how we do business. And so this woman, she goes, well, I'm obligated. I guess I have to tell my client about it, but I know what they're going to say. Yes, please tell your client, because this is business.
You are obligated to accept you are obligated to take the offer to your client.
Right. And then so she got into it with my realtor because I had a pre-approval letter for a certain amount, but I got the cash to make up the difference within the range of what this list price would be. So she tells her, well, my client can pay the difference if it's somewhere in between. My client has the funds to pay the difference. I'm going to need proof of that. Fuck you just say to me?
See, it's that part right
that I got. Okay, bitch. And so we had, and then when she did a counter offer, she wanted proof that I could buy the full purchase price, proof that I had enough to buy for cash. That's what she wanted, because she didn't think I fucking had it, because she thought she was dealing with some black people from the inner city. Girl, you about to learn a whole goddamn word. Me and my realtor are Spelmanites, right? We don't play that bullshit. So now we're stuck in the dilemma that so many black people find themselves in of, I really want this, but I don't want to give you the satisfaction of making money off of me to get it. So do I sacrifice myself and my own happiness? Because that's the spot I wanted. And the price that they were asking, we checked it out ahead of lowball. It was a lowball offer. We admit that. But it was the beginning of negotiations. The price that they had brought it down to, because they'd already lowered it, was good. It was better than what was going on in that market. So she could have said, we've done our research. The price is the price. She didn't. She was like, I don't think you can buy it, blah, blah, blah. Show me that you prove to me that you're not some drug dealer, whatever her mind was thinking. She didn't say that, but the whole show me proof that you can purchase the whole thing came off as, we know you Negroes don't have money. So I sent her one of my IRAs and evidence of the others. And I showed her the amount of money I had in my IRA. I redacted it and everything. It just said proof of purchase. It was 4 times the price of that house. I could buy it for cash if I want to, but if I'm buying for cash, I'm gonna lowball you. And we told her, so we'll pay you a little funky list price, but you're paying all these closing costs, and we want these concessions. And if it doesn't appraise for this, we are going to have a problem. And my realtor also brought out the smoke. I don't know if you know this, but in this area, this is what goes on, and these are the things, and this is the comps for this, and for price per square foot, you're here, and so there is this, and the other people that have sold in this building. Well, she went on. It was a page of response of the email. This woman wrote back, I can appreciate your point of view. We have a deal. Yeah, that's what the fuck I thought. But I'm still sitting here. She
ran out of her.
Come on, Joy.
Get commission off of this. But at the same time, I had to sit with myself. Like, am I going to basically let her win? Because if I don't get the spot that I want, I just don't get the spot that I want. Yeah. She's gonna sell that place sooner or later, and somebody else is gonna have the spot I wanted because I let her bitchiness take me out of a business transaction. And we do, just like going to a restaurant and you get bad service because they think Black people don't tip. So do you tip to prove that you can, or do you not tip and buy into it allows them to further their bias that Black people don't tip. See, I treated them bad and they didn't tip. Well, of course they didn't, because you treated them bad. But do I tip for bad service to prove you wrong? So usually if I get bad service, I'm calling the manager. And I'm telling them exactly why they didn't get a tip, and I'm telling them what they could have earned. And I'm showing them my purple metal American Express card. I'm paying with this, so you know I got money for your little 20% tip, but you get nothing. And I need you to hear this in front of your manager why you're getting nothing. Matter of fact, we go all out. Yeah.
And so, 2 things I will say before I have to, because I'm already past my time. But I will say, for you didn't lose. Mm-hmm. Because you punched that woman in the face with facts, and she had to back down.
She had to back down because she was very much, we're not doing anything. And she came back with, okay, that's good. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you won, and you got the spot you want, and you out the spot where you can't stand them people.
Exactly.
So you win it 3 times, Joy. It's joy. It's joy to the world. You're doing it all. This has been a great show. I literally have to go screaming to get my son to this basketball game. And so I'm going to sign off. And so I will say to all the Sharpies, thank you once again for joining us. And we're going to try to announce the show a little bit earlier in the day, or perhaps even on Wednesday evening, so that more of you can get notifications. We are seeing that there's a bunch of folk coming in like around the 45-minute mark. So we're going to try to make sure you can count on us you should be able to plot this out in your head. And if you have some feedback where it's like, could we start at time X or whatever, please let us know if starting a little bit later might make it easier for you. But we know that you can always watch the show anytime you want on YouTube. If you subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube, you will definitely get a notification. You will not be algorithmed out like Facebook seems to want to do. So with that, I will say, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Jermaine Taylor. Happy Founders Day to the finer women of Zeta Phi Beta.
Sorority Incorporated.
And I am Joy Stevens. And happy birthday to all the January babies.
A whole bunch of January babies. Can't nobody hardly even breathe. Good night, everybody. Oh, I didn't know I was in the show, but good night, everybody.